It's day 2 of the 15th BRICS Summit in the Sandton Convention Centre in Johannesburg. Over 20 heads of state attending it. Ndzalama Mathebula, Assistant Lecturer in the Politics and International Relations Department, the University of Johannesburg, joining us now for some more analysis, because as eyes, literally, all eyes are on that summit. Ndzalama, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time this hour. For you, as you look into day 2 now, we've seen some deals being done on the sidelines of the summit between China and South Africa. Of course, President Xi Jinping was on a state visit yesterday in Pretoria. But there's also all kinds of discussions around how to improve trade and investment between the countries. But for me, 2 major issues stand out: the de-dollarization discussion around a BRICS currency perhaps, and also the expansion of the bloc.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me this hour. So one thing that is dominating the BRICS summit is the de-dollarization and what you have mentioned. This is because we can see, or we can have BRICS as this counter bloc that seeks to counter the hegemony of the US and the West states. So what you find is these will actually dominate the agenda of the BRICS summit, because we are moving towards this unipolar, or rather a multipolar world system, which is defined by the development of many emerging communities or countries. So then these are bound to stand out because of the world order that is being pronounced by the BRICS expansion, the BRICS summit, but also the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, I mean, the West won't be very much pleased, especially Washington and them. But Dr. Ndzalama, the Minister of Higher Education, earlier speaking to my colleague in Sandton, Mdila, was saying that tough luck, toughies, we have to do what works for us as emerging economies, as poor countries, because this dollar thing has not really helped us much.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So what you find is this also speaks to the attraction that BRICS has towards many of the states that would like to join, because what you find is countries are now moving towards, or many of the countries now want to be key players in shaping the world order rather than them inheriting the world order. As you would see, since the end of the World War II, we've inherited this US hegemony, the Western hegemony, which has never really worked for many of the emerging economies. So then most definitely the de-dollarization is a hot topic. And also the BRICS states also did mention that it's not really about de-dollarization, but really it's about dissolving the dominance of the dollar within trade cooperation to mean that we would...
And common sense says there's nothing wrong in the countries trading in their own currencies. Already Brazil and China are doing so. I mean, South Africa can pay in rands to Brazil, and Brazil can pay South Africa with the Brazilian currency, the Cruzeiro.
Most definitely. So I do believe that that's another topic that they're talking towards, because we do understand that the de-dollarization is a very cumbersome issue as to what will back it up and how will the currency work. So I do believe that it's in trading using local currencies that can then dissolve the dominance of the dollar and ensure that trading becomes easy and very much pleasing for many of the African states and other emerging economies.
Yeah, sorry, it's a Brazil Real. I just made a mistake there. Don't know why I said Cruzeiro. It's the Real. Okay, so that's one aspect, Ndzalama. The one of expansion, you know, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm not a BRICS leader, but I'm wondering, there's something special about a club. I mean, there's 5 of them: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. There's something really special about there. It's intimate, you get ahead. As you expand it, it brings on board other challenges. It's going to be very key, I think, that if they're going to expand, they define the criteria and the roles of engagement very clearly.
Most definitely. That's one thing that we look towards, because it would be unpleasant to have another Eastern hegemony or an Asian hegemony within the state or within the globe. So what you find is countries have to redefine, individual countries themselves need to redefine and realign their foreign policy goals, their national interests, and ensure that they can locate their position within the BRICS summit and the BRICS bloc itself before even thinking of joining. So the question here to ask is, how will this work for me in terms of my state, and how can I see through my national interest in joining the BRICS bloc.
Yeah. What could be the major risks? I mean, the West is not going to be happy, as we say. You are expanding. I mean, the world is full of so many challenges. Currently, Russia itself is involved in a conflict with Ukraine.
So many of the risks, of course, I do believe that they would relate so much towards sanctions, being sanctioned by your primary states, by your head states, the Western states. So many of the countries might be sanctioned, which might not really compromise trade and cooperation throughout the world and bilateral relations, but then would then redefine trade and bilateral cooperations between countries. So then I do believe that whether we like it or not, the BRICS bloc and the summit itself is bringing forth this new global order, which countries have to position themselves within and ensure that it works for them and they are not left behind. And they do not inherit a world order that is not dictated by their interests.
How critical, as we conclude, Ndzalama, in your view, will this 15th summit be in the emergence of this new world order you're talking about?
So it would be very much critical, because I do believe that post the Russia-Ukraine war, we will see so much of disengagement, but also countries moving away from new trade relations being built. So going forward, this is critical. So I do believe that the outcomes of the summit in Joburg today, or during this week, they will then dictate how the world will be shaped. So it's in the outcomes of the summit itself.
Yeah, the shaping of the future world order is happening right in our doorsteps here this week, or one of the steps towards that. Thank you very much for your time and analysis here on Today. That's Ndzalama Mathebula from the University of Johannesburg. Now,